Hello, everyone. My name is Preacher Dr. Brett Allen Dillon, and in 2 weeks, I will be announcing my official presidential candidacy in front of the Catholic Archdiocese of Washington, D.C. Some of you may be wondering why, of all places, if that's why or that's where I would announce my presidential candidacy. Because part of my platform is the fact that these monsters that run the Catholic Archdiocese have protected predators for too many years in this country. Now, recently in Baltimore City, the court has unsealed, I believe it was 150 documents in which the Archdiocese never wanted to see the light of day. Why? Because it names priests, archbishops, the ones that vote to see who the voice of God is going to be next. I'm sorry, but last time I checked, God has his own voice, and they just have an agenda to keep their business and their money coming in. They don't care how many lives they've ruined. They don't care how many of these children and even adults that these predators have molested, raped. If you've watched the network, if you have Netflix, I ask that you please watch the documentary called The Keepers. And it is about how the Archdiocese kept a priest in circulation in Baltimore, didn't even move him, out of state, nothing. Once he got caught molesting a boy at a parish, they decided to make him principal of an all-girls school, to where he had pimped out children, all high school age, from 14 and up, to Baltimore City police officers, state police officers, politicians, and the list goes on and on. Now, when at that point in time, the woman that you will see within these interviews claims that she never got proof, and mysteriously, where all the proof was put, that this predator had buried in the back part of a cemetery in sealed bags, which I'm sorry, but if it's evidence, then that means that the police have a responsibility to seal all that evidence as well. But no, they protected this clown, and in return, one of the unsolved murders of Baltimore City / Baltimore County has gone unsolved since 1960. Here's my problem with that. They claim to majority of the survivors of what this priest had put these girls through had never supposedly been brought up before, never been accused, their whole song and dance. Well, guess what? He had. And years later, they're finally getting some kind of justice. Unfortunately, it's either up to the archdiocese what gets redacted, or if it's just the gory part, since this is going to be made public record, the gory details of what these children had to go through. Part of my campaign and why I'm going to be in front of the Washington, D.C. Catholic Archdiocese in 2 weeks is for the simple fact that it is about time that the Archdiocese, because there's one in every city, be held accountable for unsealing all records pertaining to all predators that they've been protecting for years. Another part of my platform, before I change course, I do want to give immaculate, just outright courage and tenacity to the movement SNAP. Survivors Network, from the hand abuse sustained by priests. I have to give them all the credit in the world because they've not given up their fight, no matter how long it's taken. And finally, the first domino has fallen. Now let's make the rest fall. Secondly, one of my very best friends and someone who I consider a brother is part of the LGBTQ plus community. He was beaten at the hands of the Frederick City Police in Frederick, Maryland. Now, last year on April 22nd, 2022, Maryland passed a law that all 23 districts now has an office that is supposed to oversee all the police brutality cases, complaints, and all the other things that the police are doing unlawfully. This is supposed to be the committee that keeps them in check. Well, why is it that every other one of the 23 districts has control over all the police forces, but the one in Frederick, they're allowed to investigate and hear disputes and complaints about every single other department, surprise, surprise, other than the Frederick City Police, who have a contract with the mayor. Now, I'm sorry, but all of that screams corruption. And the fact that they're actually trying to bring criminal charges as a farce with evidence from a neighbor who directly contacts the officers personally, doesn't go through 911, doesn't go through proper channels, but has violated my friend Jay Zimmerman's civil due process to the point to where they've offered him plea agreements to plead guilty to things that he has not done wrong. And in each plea agreement, it specifically states that he cannot sue his neighbor nor the police. Now, last time I checked, a lot of plea agreements, if not most, do not have that as a, shall we say, level of scrutiny, or, to me, that screams, hey, we're trying to cover this up. We don't want to lose our asses on this. We don't want you to, sue the city and hold us responsible for perpetuating hate crimes that we're trying to cover up. That's what's happening. Also, on top of everything else, is the fact that there are just so many things that are wrong with our government today. First, by starting with the fact that our government thinks that we work for them. They have forgotten Abraham Lincoln's very famous speech that this government was founded by the people, of the people, and for the people, which is what my campaign slogan is. Because it's about time that government returns back to the people. That means that those on Capitol Hill, I can promise each and every one of you, I'm not draining the swamp like we've heard so much other bullshit spouted by other presidential nominees throughout the years. But I'm going to bulldoze that bitch down to bedrock. That means they need to start listening to John Q. Citizen or Janet Q. Citizen. Not, hey, my vote's for sale to the highest bidder because, I'm sorry. Of course, they don't sell their votes. It's campaign donations, which we all know they're bribes. So let's just cut the shit, call it what it is. And yes, I'm speaking freely, I'm speaking open-mindedly. I am not going to hold back. Other than that, it's the fact that, why is it that these people in Congress who are supposed to be representing their constituents, not just the 1%, not just the ones that they can make money from, not just the ones who can buy their time, and be able to get in to see them, but it's supposed to be that every tax-paying citizen and every constituent within their radius that they're supposed to represent, supposed to listen to everyone. Well, apparently they've lost sight of that. And another part of my platform is, it is the 21st century. Why are we still using the word minority? Did the Constitution not say that all men are created equal? Well, even in the Bible, when it talks about, men and things like that, God is referring to men, women, children, everybody, every race, every creed, every color, and nowadays it's no matter your religion, disability, whatever. Congress has literally wiped their ass with the 14th Amendment and act like it is unimportant and that it should go into the great night, and just be there. But it's part of the basic rights of every U.S. citizen. So therefore, why did they have to pass a law about interracial marriage? I thought we kind of got rid of that, years ago. And there's just so much. But, I'm just touching on parts here of what I'm representing. as far as the Native Americans go, this country, from its birth, has stolen so much from the Native Americans. And yet, somebody can take somebody onto any Indian reservation, murder them with a whole SWAT team standing there watching them murder this person. And as long as they leave the murder weapon there and everything else, guess what? Nothing happens. And yet multitudes of Native American women and children are raped because the tribal police only have so much authority, and the authority that they're given is that it ends at them being able to charge with somebody with anything more than a misdemeanor. There's no federal help. There's no federal task force, which I will create, that specifically will be there to help all tribal matters. Because it is about time this government gives something back to the Native Americans. You know, the ones who were here and actually saved the lives by showing those who came over here how to plant, how to sow, how to farm, you know, all that other stuff. Had it not been for them, we wouldn't have had our independence. But yet, what did we do? Same thing us Americans always do. We got greedy and we got gluttonous. We wanted more. We wanted everything. We wanted it all. And we did not want to share the riches to those whose land it rightfully belonged to. So it's time that we give back. It's time that Native Americans have a say, because they can vote and everything else. But other than that, what help has the government given them since? Nothing. So, these are only a fraction, I should say, of the things that are part of my platform. A couple other bullet points is that no longer will I allow there to be a separation of white men making more in the military, in the workplace, anywhere, than anyone of any ethnic background, nor women. Because that's been the problem as well, is that they say there isn't racism, but there's not equality either. They say that, well, black people get to vote. Really? So then why is it that strategically every state and federal guideline has made it harder and harder for black people to vote? I believe that, ex-cons who have rehabilitated, paid their debt to society, I believe that they've earned their right to vote back. I also believe that, you know, sorry for those who disagree, but the wall does need to be finished. And it's a simple fact that once the Alzheimer's patient who currently sits in the White House, you know, once he was inaugurated, put a halt to the building of the wall, which was already paid for by tax dollars and Mexico was starting to pay. Everything was paid for. He put an end to the stoppage of the building. Well, since he was inaugurated, over 2 million illegal aliens. And here's the problem, too. It's not just South Americans that have found their way into this country. It's people from other nations who knew they could not get here and gain entry to fly under the radar in order to, who knows what their plans are. But it's been Russians, Chinese, hell, even North Korea managed to sneak some in. ISIS has sent some in. So when are we going to stop being undivided and finally be what the name of our country is? The United States of America. Because until we're united, as Thomas Jefferson put it, when it comes down to only two houses fighting for the same position, the people's voices will no longer be heard, which we haven't. And it leads to tyrannical rule, which is not what our country was fought for. Not once, not twice, but 3 different times. The 3rd time our country fought was brother against brother, when our country was divided then. Let's not make history repeat itself. And let us come back to being one people, one voice, of complete equality, instead of this constant need for the Republicans and Democrats to continuously drive wedges between people. Let's become a people with a voice. And let's show these sons of bitches that even though I wasn't born with a silver spoon up my ass like them, I don't come from money. I don't have, any kinds of millions of dollars. I don't have, vested interest in big oil, big pharma, any of them. My platform, and you can look it up under the WC, it's Dr. Dillon's The People's Platform. Because it's about time that the people reclaim their voice. Thank you, and may God, Yeshua, and the Holy Spirit bless you, your families, your friends, and keep your enemies at bay.